Melid is sent to go collect that piece of the demonic beast while everybody else is fighting. He arrives to the lake, and instead of finding it, he finds a vision of the wise gentleman fighting the creator of the enemy country. And it reminds me of a scene from Inuyasha where Kagome falls into the Sacrandral and she sees a priestess fighting a bunch of beasts. That's what the scene gives me. Melly does find the missing piece of the beast, but it's actually in the hands of the state proctor, and so him and the state proctor has to literally fight, and he's able to get it out of the hands of the state proctor and runs for it. He's like running, trying to get out of there while the state proctor is hunting for him and attacking him, and he has men with him. The Melly comes across Mercy and is trying to hand it over to Mercy, and Mercy's not taking it or trusting or believing in the Melly because he saw the Melly use dark magic fighting against the state proctor, so he doesn't believe that this is real or somebody with dark magic will willingly fight against the state proctor. Until the Melly reveals what his identity is and pushes the item on to Mercy. Mercy's like, oh, okay, I know who you are now. I trust you. I'm going to take this. And he runs for it. At first, he was going to stay with the Melid and fight with the Melid. And Melid's like, no, you got to get out of here. You got to get this out of here. Go, go. So he does. He leaves. Also, no one told me the series has Pegasus because when he rushes away, Mercy gets on a little Pegasus to get away from his attackers and chasers because the state proctor stays back to fight the Melid, but sends his men to go after Mercy. And Mercy's literally flying on a freaking Pegasus. Why did none of you tell me about this? This needs to be known, okay? More people will probably read Remnants of Filth if you tell them there's little Pegasuses in it. Mercy arrives to the main character, informs the main character what he has and where he got it. The main character is freaked out because he knows his wife is in danger. This is when the state proctor shows up with the Melid over his shoulders being like, okay, you either give me back what was mine or the Melid gets it and he dies. And the main character's like, well, I'm going to take this deal. And everyone's like, what do you mean you're going to take the deal? And he's like, I'm going to take the deal. I know that's a big, huge taboo, but I'm taking that deal. That's my wife right there, I'm telling you. I spent 8 years without my wife. I'm taking my wife. But again, this is also he can put down the walls of the state proctor. And the state proctor is suspicious of him, thinking he's about to pull something, telling him he's too young to be pulling something over his head. But the main character is able to, because again, remember, the main character in the Melid has their Lotus Bond protector thingy that has swords come out when they're in dangers. Yes, it comes out. He's able to get the Melid away from the state proctor. I am not sure what happened to the state proctor in this scene. Either he dies or he escapes, whatever. He does tell everybody there that the person the main character was about to give up something for was the Melid, the traitor of their country. And again, no one outside the main character of the Melid, the emperor, and to brush away knows the truth. So everyone is horrified. They want to see proof. They want to see that it is actually the Melid. They're all angry. They're kind of believing the state proctor. Yuming Lake stands up and goes, all of you shut up. It doesn't matter who's under the mask because, again, this person was assigned by the emperor, by the main character. You should trust them and believe them instead of this beach. So back off. You're not going to see who's under this mask. So off. But doesn't mean that doesn't stop rumors from spreading around and causes morale to go down. The main character does inform Yuming Lake that the Melid was actually a spy and not a traitor, and he was working for their country, which makes her feel awful and guilty for everything she had said to him, which, again, she was very much understandable because, again, she thought he was a traitor, did horrible and vile things to their country, not knowing he did those things for their country and how much he's done for their country. And she's told all the facts, all the information, and yet she feels so bad for it. Mercy comes to collect the Melid, and he tells Yuming Lake to back off because he knows it's the Melid and he needs to talk to him. And he's not going to harm him. They just need to have a conversation alone somewhere else. So the Melid and him goes off somewhere to have a conversation. And Mercy is such a tsundere, so obviously a tsundere, because he can't outright tell the Melid what he's trying to tell the Melid. They're basically having an argument over him trying to tell the Melid what he's trying to tell the Melid, which is information the Melid told him. because he's upset that the Melite doesn't remember this, even though he knows the Melite's mind is scrambled. Like, he is furious that the Melite forgot this information, this important information. And then they get attacked. When they're trying to have a literal conversation after literal 5 books, when they're about to have an actual conversation, they're attacked. This assassinator is after, Mercy, wants to kill Mercy and frame the Melite for it. And they attacked. Mercy's horribly injured. Mercy's basically begging him, pleading him to run. And the Melite's like, no, I can't run. I can't leave you. He's also injured because he was just hospitalized. So it's not like he can truly honestly run. And there's forces all around. If he tries running and they find Mercy the way he is, he's still going to be expected. So yes, it's a mess. The Melite decides to jump into Mercy's memories. Yes, he jumps into Mercy's memories. In Mercy's memories, we find out that the Melite and Mercy are actually half-brothers, which I was kind of expecting it, but at the same time, I was actually expecting them to be cousins, or like one's from a smaller branch family, the other from big branch family. But you know what? It's not also surprising that they're actually brothers. Mercy's mother has always been in love with their father, but he did not like her back because she was full-on tsundere to him. She was always huffy, so rude to him, and so he could never fall in love with her back because, again, she was always hateful to him. So over the years, he meets the Melite's mother, who he finds in the woods with no memories of who she is, and she's terrified, she's lost, so he takes her in his wings, and he falls in love with her, and she falls in love with him back. Like they're having a blossoming romance. He full-on goes to his brother, who is the former emperor, to ask to be able to marry her. And the former emperor rejects him because the former emperor just agreed to betroth him to Mercy's mother. And he's not happy with this. He argues back and fights his brother. His brother is like, oh, you can take her as a concubine. And again, he argues with the former emperor that he's not willing to do that because, again, he loves the Melite's mother. He's not going to be with any other woman that is not the main character, Melite's mother. Well, who decides to break this arguing up? It is Morning Sun's father, who states that he looked into the woman's background and found out she was a spy. The former emperor uses this as an opportunity to force his brother to marry Mercy's mother against his will, promising that he will get his woman back if he marries her, and throws her into a horrible place where she would be tortured and experimented on for being a spy. I am not kidding. Now, this was just used by the former emperor to control his brother. He never actually had intentions to harm the woman.